What's poppin', y'all? Oh, hell nah. Last time we saw somebody making $1 million a month, it turned into an absolute catastrophe, and now he's selling the building and saying that he went broke. And that was No Jumper when No Jumper was on that podcast with none other than, it was Graham Stephan, his podcast, and he said he was doing $1 million a month on just No Jumper. That's not including any of the corn or anything that his wife does or that he does with his wife, their plug talk thing. And Joe Budden has just done the same. So Joe Budden posted on his Instagram story, and he didn't mean to actually leak it, but it came out that way. So he posted the screen capture that said in the initial story, it's different, with a fist emoji and then a flexing, with 30 million impressions, which is actually... and then people, they use the tool. This is why you got to use the block tool, Joe Budden. Like on the bottom right, when you can edit a photo, you use that square shape and you fill it in with dark black, and then you move the square on top of the numbers. You don't use this airbrush. The airbrush don't work like that. You need to get the block, the square, the shapes. And they showed membership earnings, $902,085K. So $902,850, 154,000 active members. And what is, I don't even know what the bottom is. It says 931.14. I don't know what that is. And then total visits, 30.2 million. So it's up 3.4 million. This, I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. I thought this was fake at first. Yeah, I did. I thought it was fake. And the reason for that being is, Flagrant, for example, is one of the biggest podcasts, right? They're doing less than 100K a month. They're doing maybe like 60 to 75. I think at their peak, they were doing 100, maybe 200. But then I did a little bit more digging, and I think these numbers might just be real. The reason for that is the ratios add up. Now, what's odd to me is that for him to get 30, I think this impression number is a little bit misleading. I don't think these are unique impressions. So it says he has 150-something thousand people that are paying to watch. But his regular podcasts get a couple 100,000 views on YouTube. However, I think the majority of the people that came on here when he first started the Patreon, they aren't even really watching on YouTube anymore. So that, I wouldn't say dilutes the viewers, but it makes the viewership less. But what really made me think, okay, this guy's got it, is he's got a bunch of products that he's selling. So he's got like negative highlighter. He's got these videos that he's selling. Like one of them is $14, JBP basketball, $14. It's almost as, it's a Joe Budden network. This is the transformation of the Joe Budden network. Because if you guys recall, he was trying to do this Joe Budden network idea a couple of years ago, and it failed miserably, but he learned his lesson. And this is why you got to throw stuff at the wall and just test and see what comes back. He tried to have, I think it was like this girl Mandy and someone else do this girl show, and nobody cared about it. The views were terrible. They were just like, yo, listen, Joe, we care about you and the main cast. So what he's doing now with this network is he's just doing, he's got a relationship show. He's got a basketball, like, oh, they're going to hoop together. I don't even know what this negative highlighter thing is. But, oh yeah, JBP worked through an emotional conversation. So they're getting extra content, and it's all associated with Joe Budden. So it's Joe Budden and his main cast, not just some new show that he's trying to put together. So he's profiting more off of the main thing. But when I saw the comments and the likes, because you can only comment or like on a gated post if you are a Patreon subscriber. So he's got 5,000 on the Super Closer featuring Joy Taylor 2 days ago. He's got 5,251 comments and 3,300 likes on that. That's at minimum. Let's just say that there are people that don't like and there are people that don't comment. So let's just say likes. The likes are going to be unique. You can't give 2 likes, but someone can reply to a comment and add to the comment chain. So with the likes, 3,344, let's say $5. That's already at least 60, 70K a month off of that, off of unique likes. And that's not everybody's going to like. And that's when I said, okay, you see a ratio like this, that makes sense. Because if I go to Flagrant's Patreon and I look at a recent post or podcast, you've got the ratio of comments to likes on there is significantly lower. Like, they've got videos there, you've got 116 likes, 66 comments, right? You're not getting more than a couple of hundred. And I think it's because maybe they decided to shift towards more of a model where they're not getting as much unique content and they're already getting the video stuff on the YouTube. I think they decided to move towards more ad-based viewing, which I don't know if Joe Budden's running ads like that. But that's just off of the YouTube, just off of the Patreon that Joe Budden is getting 900K. I believe it. Now, the impression number is different. I think impressions is the people that showed up, because 30 million unique viewers is more than, there are less than 30 million people that know about Joe Budden. That's a gargantuan number. That's like, what, 1% of the U.S. population? That is a very, very big number. And within hip-hop as well, like, this is, I would say it's more than just a hip-hop podcast. So for that, I think it's just people coming back. So let's say people say he drops consistently on the Patreon. So if he's dropping 5 times a week, and I show up 5 to 6 times a week opening his Patreon, and then we go to, like, that's what, like 30 views a month, it makes sense. And he's always talking about the Patreon, but I think there has to be another traffic source that I'm not calculating. That may be Twitter, or is he popping on IG Reels or TikTok or something to funnel this traffic in, because he's not getting 30 million impressions via YouTube, because his YouTube is doing about 10 million views a month. And that's where the million comes in. So the 10 million views that Joe Budden's getting, he's making at least 100K off of that, because he's got podcasts on there. So he's making, what, 110K? That makes it 1.1 million a month. And that is where things get dangerous. But that's also why Joe Budden must be popping his stuff, especially laughing when he was laughing at people like Flagrant, trying to talk to him in any type of way. Yeah, this guy's in the heavyweights right now. And this may cause potential issues in the future. Like, for example, Ice, I think it was, Ice or Ish, which it was Ish on the Joe Budden podcast. He got into an argument with Joe Budden a while back about the state of his position and job on the podcast. So I'm going to play you guys that clip right now.
And when it comes to my life being vulnerable to be let go at a whim and have to start all over is something that is valuable to me. And leaving yourself open to that is something that is valuable to me. And y'all looked at me like I was crazy for feeling that way, and I'm not.
I'm not looking
because you start bringing up Ish. You gonna be all right. You got other money. I ain't say Joe.
You that said was me talking to you outside of a court of law, off the record. Don't do that.
No, but that was one. Stop, Corey. Stop.
That's true.
When Joe got a point, you be vocal. When I got a point, you don't say nothing. You don't say. When I got a good point, you sit there like a mime. When Joe got a point, you come to run and defend him. Don't do that.
Points, he ain't said a word this whole time.
But when I got a good point, he don't be. I'm reading his face. You're not sitting there.
Some of that was off the record.
True.
Don't do that.
No, you said that on mic. Like, yo, you gonna be all right.
But still, that's
and
off the record.
And I said, Joe, you got 2 other co-hosts. You gonna be all right. And you looked at me like I was crazy. So what I'm saying is just a matter of perspective. Like, yo, if somebody has a good point, I recognize your points. I did. I said, I recognize your points. I see why you fighting for that. I see how left and you was kind of disheveled for a minute. I understand all of that. Who the fuck would want to go through that again?
So there you could see there's a little bit of uneasiness around his job security, and this is before these type of numbers come out. I think everybody's shocked by these numbers. Like I said, I didn't even believe it at first, and that wasn't just on some hate and stuff. It's just the numbers don't quite add up. Like 150,000+ people is a lot of people to get to pay for content when everybody's handing out content for free. Yeah, you've got to really, really come with the work. And there was also a moment when Mark Lamont Hill was introduced to the podcast as well, and people were like a little bit iffy on it. So I'm going to play you guys that clip right now.
Also, let me announce to the audience and everybody here, Mark Lamont will be starting sometime soon. The thinking there is to give each of you included, Parks, we got a Park standing too, to give each of y'all a day off, like per month. That's fly, right? Why y'all don't look as happy as I thought y'all would? Y'all do that?
Listen, man.
You do that when
You do it.
yeah, sure.
See that? They see that the way I do it.
So is his contract? Is his contract ending when his contract is ending?
What do you mean? That would be unprofessional. So,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I'll read right through you, nigga. I knock you out down.
And I think this creates a bit of uneasiness amongst the cast because Mark Lamont Hill, he's got quite a storied history when it comes to professional media outlets. But I also think a lesson that Joe Budden learned from his previous co-hosts, Rory and Maul, is I've got to keep things fresh. Hire fat or hire slow, fire quick. So while he's got a good cast, he's looking for other people that may fill in well. Because if push comes to shove and someone just up and leaves and they're like, oh, you're not giving me the right deal, I'm getting out of here, then Joe Budden can just be like, okay, we already got a replacement that people already mess with, as opposed to trying to rebuild. And going through that rebuilding process took him 6 to 9 months, and he was grinding through that. So in this case, he's got a ton of people, right? Like he's got Ice-Ish, he's got Queen's Flip, he's got Melissa Ford, he's got Mark Lamont Hill now. He's having all these different opinions, and that's because he's got the capital to throw around to experiment with these type of things. So he's reinvesting. Like Joe Budden's really handling this well. And then there was also, I think Queen's Flip had asked Joe Budden for $40K a month, which is, my goodness. And Academics even, you guys know, Academics, when he went on that tirade to destroy No Jumper and get everyone to leave, it's when he found out that Adam 22 was making $1 million a month. He was appalled. He couldn't believe it. He's like, nah, that has to be through the corn too, right? It's not just No Jumper. And then he went on that tirade. So I think there's a little bit of jealousy in Academics when he reacted to this, trying to sow some discord. So I'm going to play you guys that clip right now.
To be very clear and to be very fair, I'm very happy for him if he's making that, right? And once I see 30 million views in a month, right, I could see why if everybody's paying, what does Joe charge? $20, right? If you're having 30 million people go on your Patreon site and the average cost of each membership is $20, I could definitely see you making $900,000. Now, here's the problem. And, I wouldn't have posted this. And I don't even really want to get too much into this because I actually like the guys now on the Joe Budden podcast. The moment this drops, all beef. Like all beef. And put it like this. Let me tell you this. There's notable moments when this is never happy again. When Adam went on and said, yo, I'm making $1 million a month, it was never the same in No Jumper. I'm telling you, the passive aggressiveness at the Joe Budden podcast is about to be 5,000. Like, it's going to go 5,000 levels. You know why? Respectfully, and I don't know what nobody makes, and I don't care. I like those guys. I'm not taking shots or nothing. But there's probably on there making $5,000 a month. And $5,000 a month when you feel like you're giving a lot of your life up, or you're bringing some of your personal drama on there to make it more fun and all that, and you realize Joe is getting 900. I always told y'all the thing. The moment Everyday Struggle was over, the moment Joe knew how much Spotify paid us.
Now, I do agree with him in that this can cause strife, but Joe Budden didn't intend on showing the numbers. So that's what makes it a little bit spooky. And, Joe's a little bit of an old head, so, he didn't know how to fully block it out so people can't just airbrush their way into it. And who knows, someone could have airbrushed that off and put fake numbers. That's a possibility too, but I'm calculating that this is at least 500K. Just from the likes and comments that I was seeing on the podcast, he's making at least 500. So if they're gassing it and they're photoshopping to make it 900K, that's a different story. But Academics talked about the experience that he had with Joe Budden and himself once they realized how much Spotify had been paying Everyday Struggle.
When we realized Spotify paid damn near almost $1 million, I can't remember what the number was, damn near $1 million, and me and Joe was only getting an extra bump of $15,000 extra a month, right? And they paid $1 million. And me and Joe are getting $15,000, and literally they're only paying for me and Joe. The moment Joe seen that, Joe said, fuck them Friday episodes. I'm good. I'm good. The Everyday Struggle was never the same after that. That shit it was a ticking time bomb. So I don't know why Joe posted this, because he has employees. Like, it's different with me. You know what I mean? I don't have other people that are on camera talent that are on my broadcast. So I could show you I make $30 million. Who's going to get mad? They're going to be like, well, Act just grinded it up by himself, right? Now, maybe if it was like I'm filming at a studio, or say I'm filming, like, you know, obviously we do our podcast from my other studio. Yeah, maybe who's like holding the camera could be like, bro, could you give me a little raise or whatever? But nobody's going to be like, bro, we deserve part of the money, right? Like, I'm over here in Tiger Woods, and you heard me? But when you have like 10 on a podcast, Mike, like Joe, some of these niggas is going to start thinking inevitably, yo, bruv, like, I'm not saying we should bust it down half, but like, if you get 900, like, yo, like, I think I should get, like, you know what I mean, like 50, like, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's incorrect, but still, it's gonna happen. It's going to happen.
Now, I don't know about y'all, like, that clip had me dying, because what employee leaked that number? And it's just, there's just something in your mind when you can feel like you're getting paid well. Like, let's say you've got a client and you're doing some work for them and you're getting paid 10 G's a month. You're like, man, I'm living great off of 10 G's a month. But when you find out that the work that you did for that individual made him $1 million that month, you're like, whoa, hold on. I just got a tiny sliver of that. Like, my life is good, but I can't get 20 bands now, or 50, or 100, and you start thinking a little bit differently. And I think that's how they felt in particular, because they were integral to the show. They were like, we are the show. What the hell? How are you going to have Spotify drop this bag and we're getting peanuts when we're the show? It's not like we're just providing a service to the show. We're not just the ones handling the boom mics or the stylist in the back or the makeup artist. We are the content. We are the product. And then I think Academics is giving some good advice in this next clip I'm going to play, but it's also a little bit of sowing discord, if you ask me.
With Joe and them, yeah, this is what y'all do. This is what y'all do, gentlemen, over the JBP. Okay? Whatever y'all little, I don't know, let me not say little, because y'all might think I'm disrespecting. Whenever y'all performance up conversation comes up, y'all should probably, try to negotiate. I don't think y'all deserve percentage. That's the Joe show. Not disrespecting y'all, but that's the Joe show. But I would say this. Joe got a pop in Patreon. Again, I want to jump in his business, because, again, I'll say something and one will hear it and be like, he just started being mad toxic and started giving Joe headaches. I don't want to say nothing, and I'm like, it'll come off like I'm hating on my mans. I'm not. I think if Joe has this amount of people with purchasing power and he's getting 30 million monthly episodes 30 million Patreon views, what I think you brothers should do, if y'all want to get paid more money, maybe I'll get paid lovely already, I don't know. Y'all should try to create a show and pitch it to Joe. Joe has a whole platform for Patreon that y'all have helped build. So all these people that's on his Patreon, y'all have helped bring there. He's not going to bust down the money that he's making on his back. I don't care how much y'all there. It's still Joe show. Bring your show to his Patreon and negotiate a profit split with that.
So, yeah, he's like, when y'all are up for those contract negotiations, be careful with that. But really, this is good advice. Instead of trying to do your own thing. Now, the thing that has changed is that I believe the FTC for the U.S. has eliminated non-compete contracts. So if someone, like, they used to put you on a non-compete where it's like, hey, if you're going to come do a podcast, I'm just using podcast. I don't know if they really use this, but let's say you're going to come on a show. You cannot start a show of your own. Or if you're going to come work in this business, you cannot start a business in this vertical, because you're just going to learn everything that you got from us and then become a competitor to us. That's largely to sum it up. However, they got rid of that. So anybody that went on the Joe Budden podcast, they could just start their own podcast. And that's a lot harder than it seems, and to be able to generate as much money as they would need to generate. And that's the thing with Joe Budden. I think Academics is giving them good advice, because he's like, hey, if you can pitch a show, you're already a character that people like on here. Maybe they want to see more of you, and we can test how much it generates on the Patreon, and then we'll give you a raise based on that, as opposed to them trying to start from scratch and do something on the side whilst also doing the Patreon, or whilst also doing their job which is Joe Budden's podcast. And I think that's a great idea. It's the best thing that they can do to build some. And this is also the thing. Let's say they're getting paid. I don't think anybody's getting paid over $20K a month there at Joe Budden. And this is the thing. Joe Budden's making this money now. Adam 22 was making $1 million back then. Like, he could hand out those salaries. But that doesn't always stay. That doesn't always stick. And it is different because Joe Budden is making this money directly from people paying him, whereas No Jumper was more on ads, algorithm, like Snapchat, Facebook, things like that are a lot flimsier and subject to volatility depending on when it happened. But Joe Budden, he could potentially have those numbers go down. And then you got to still maintain the salary that you decided to give the person, assuming that you would continue to make the same amount of money. That's a lot of stress on a boss. But let's say they're getting paid $10K a month. I don't think people are calculating the difficulty to get their own thing started and consistently make $10K a month, or just even get it to $10K a month in general, and then continue that. So they're probably, man, that's going to be so much work. I might as well just chill here and keep it pushing and get paid. But it will for sure create more, not arguments, but a more contentious negotiating process than it has been in the past. And I need y'all to tell me, is Joe Budden doing ads too? Because if he is, oh my goodness. I mean, just off of doing ads in his Patreon, considering how many people he's got on there, over 100,000. Like, I'm clapping it up for the dude. He is a heavyweight. He's got the biggest podcast in the game because people are willing to drop bread to watch him. I don't care. $1 million worth of game. They're not on his level. What was the other podcast? Drink Champs? No. Come on. I feel like those numbers were gas anyway. Joe Budden is verifiable. He's the king of the podcast game. Honestly, I'm crowning him number one just off of this. It is what it is. Like, that guy's a worker. He built something. People are paying him directly. That's how much they value him. Like, a lot of people may watch you. They might know about you. Like, for example, academics. A lot of people watch him. A lot of people see him. But how many real supporters does he have that mess with him and are willing to pay him for like a subscription on Twitch or Kick or something like that? Joe Budden's got 150,000 of those. Academics doesn't have 15,000 of those. So Joe Budden is really top of the line. Granted, though, Joe Budden has a cast and he's been able to build that cast, and Academics is more like a solo figure. And I do think he gives a good contrast of, like, hey, I'm the content. Nobody's on the camera with me. Nobody's going back and forth with me. So my employees can't be up here saying, like, yo, we deserve more. So these are just two different models, I would say. Like, one is not necessarily, like a podcast, they want the cast, but they don't want the cast without Joe Budden necessarily all the time. But I'm impressed, man. I'm really impressed with Joe Budden. Congratulations to him. And yeah, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one.